Hello and welcome to my 9th MILKMAN devlog. In this episode I go through how I added these NPC vehicles and made them spawn at both ends of the road. I also try to simplify my code, but end up causing more issues. I think I almost created a black hole. Anyway, more on that later. So first I recycle the existing truck and just give it a red colour, and make a blue version as well, but I realise I need more variety. So then I switch to Blender to create a new vehicle type. This time it's more of a typical 4-door family car. I know I'm not winning any fine art prizes with these box cars, but I think they fit in this weird game I'm making. So I add these into Unity and in black colour. I then test it out to see what the traffic is like with 3 different types of vehicles, and it's actually quite entertaining. But I know I need more, so I add a 4th type of vehicle, which is really just recycling the family car and making it yellow. I do a bit more testing with the traffic, and it's pretty fun to drive around in. I then remembered that there was a comment in one of my YouTube videos suggesting that I use the function transform.forward. I understood it to mean that I could save lots of line of code, and basically deleted my old code and replaced it with some very simple scripting. When I tested the new code, it resulted in something really odd. I tried to fix the code, but only made matters worse, and somehow I think I almost ended the world by creating some strange black hole of the vehicles clumped together, spinning for all eternity. I was worried that I was going to get sucked into the computer, so I desperately tried to find a solution, and there it was. As I passed the event horizon and peered into the ever-hungry singularity, it just needed the like button to be pressed on this video. But seriously, I looked this up, and an alternative to the transform.forward function was to use the .vector3 function. However, the vector3 function ignored rotation, so I would be back to where I started with my previous old code, and that wasn't much use to me. I wanted to see if I could make the .forward function work. After consulting some indie game groups on Facebook and Reddit, I had a number of helpful solutions, but none of these seemed to fix the problem, and I would in fact require more code to patch up the issues. One of the major problems with the .forward function is that it appeared to override Unity physics such as gravity. It was causing the vehicles to float around like spirits. As a result, I was having to compensate with additional scripting to try and make it work. I also found that even if I did make it work, there were 2 additional issues. The first was that the vehicles would become slightly directionless and start driving into buildings, which would require me to create a separate script for them to focus back on their original direction. And secondly, and arguably more importantly, the vehicles appeared to be quite forceful in the way they moved, and no matter how hard my player truck crashed into them, they were always bulldozing my player truck to one side. Again, I suspect this was because the forward function was overriding other types of physics elements in Unity. This is not to say that the .forward function is not helpful. I am sure it is. But in my particular case, I reverted back to the old, clunky code because it worked. And you know what they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Perhaps if I had made a more sophisticated game, and maybe that's something I'll do in the future, I will have to learn more about it, but for current purposes, this is a very simple game which I hope to finish soon. I didn't want to drag this process out even more. So moving on, I started work on a teleport system which would teleport a car from the end of the road to the beginning of the road, or from the beginning of the road to the end of the road, depending on where the vehicle started, and this was just a matter of creating 4 entrance portals which would receive the vehicles, and 4 exit portals where the cars would pop out of. The 4 entrance portals basically capture the 2 halves of the highway, as there is a possibility that the car swerves out of its lane. And the 4 exit portals essentially start the vehicle on the right track, in the right direction again. The scripting was pretty simple, and I was happy with the result. However, I didn't like the fact that you could clearly see the vehicles appearing and disappearing in the distance, and also behind the milk truck if you reversed. So I fixed this by first creating an invisible barrier behind the milk truck so that the player is unable to see the vehicles appearing and disappearing behind you. And secondly, likewise, I switched back to Blender to create a concrete tunnel structure to be placed at the end of the road, which would receive oncoming traffic and spit out vehicles. Finally, I didn't really think the shadow from the tunnel structure was that strong, so I wondered if I could create some sort of negative light to suck out the light inside the tunnel. Luckily, someone had already created a simple script to hack the light object in Unity so that instead of emitting light, it emitted darkness. I moved this darkness around to see if I could get it right and was generally satisfied with the result. Again, I played around a little and drove the truck through the streets with the vehicles appearing on both ends of the road and thought the driving was challenging but not necessarily that fun. I haven't quite decided on the number of vehicles that should be on the road, and my gut feeling is that right now there are too many for this game to be any kind of driving fun. I don't want the experience to feel like you're just stuck behind traffic for the whole of the game, and there should be opportunities for the player to take advantage of gaps in the traffic. So I'll try to explore this a bit more in my next update, and perhaps create some very simple levels. If you like this video, please remember your likes make it easier for others to find my stuff, and if you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and follow my journey in GameDev. Until next time, bye.